Welcome to the Legion Outriders podcast.
You've got a lot of guts coming here.
Your source for the latest Legion news, opinion, and analysis.
You must unlearn what you have learned.
And now, here's your hosts.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
John Archiquette.
Will somebody get this big walking carpet out of my way?
Matt Turner.
I'm not afraid.
And Joshua Gray.
You will be.
What's going on, Outriders? John, Josh, and Matt back here with a vengeance. We just got our first weekend underway with the brand new Star Wars Legion game. We're excited to talk about it. We've got some hobby news and, of course, the much-awaited release of some more Star Wars Legion goodness. So lots of great stuff to talk about. How are you guys doing today?
Oh, I'm so tired. I've got the 1,000mm stare because I've just been looking at models in front of my face for hours on end. Tired.
Boo-hoo.
I don't wanna, and I've got more. The sad thing is like I don't even have enough painted to have like a real army yet, and it's really frustrating.
Yeah, but release weekend was pretty good to all of us, though. We all got our presents from Santa, and here in Las Vegas, where it's nice and sunny, we didn't have the issues that some people out on the East Coast had. So we were able to stop here at Power 9 Games, pick up our copies right on time. But I think some people on the East Coast may have got snowed in, which might work out for the benefit, though, because if you get a snow day, that's extra time to paint.
Yeah, but if you got a snow day, you've got nothing to paint.
That's true.
If you're still sitting there waiting for your stuff to show up.
So, Matt, have you got a chance to get a couple games in this weekend?
No. Thanks for that. No, I did get a couple of games down on launch day, but we did have our 800-point tournament over the weekend, which was really great, I hope. It seemed everybody had a lot of fun, but we had 8 people show up to that. Like myself and Josh couldn't make it, so there was some people MIA, but other than that, there was people in here building, had some new people joining in that hadn't been able to come out on Thursday. So there's quite a bit community building up here in town. I'm very excited to see with all the opportunities for play.
Yeah, it's exciting to see that there's a good community building here. A few people popped in who weren't actually playing the game, who looked like they were just interested in checking it out. Somebody stopped by and like, what is that?
It's Star Wars. Come on, man.
Like, it's like Warhammer? I'm like, no, it's like Star Wars.
Hammer.
That's my line. Yeah.
But I mean, it seems like there's a few people that maybe converted over to the dark side, or the Star Wars side at least, and piqued some interest from people who maybe weren't necessarily war gamers to begin with.
No, it's great that we're having that kind of crossover. Getting the Star Wars, it basically allows you to get that foot in the door with the property license people are familiar with. You're like, great, here, let me show you how this game plays. And everybody that sat down to play either a demo or a game, I think it's like an 80% plus conversion rate. And then people that were kind of on the fence, so you see all the buzz on social media. I know we were posting up pictures, a lot of the other stores were too, people on Twitter and Facebook, and we're getting more people, okay, it sounds like I'm ready to take the jump in. So a little bit, people that are a little late to the party, but definitely everybody's welcome.
And I was seeing folks like Thursday on our live stream. Mm-hmm. Most of the community that I'm aware of is it's a lot of folks that are X-Wing players or still X-Wing players. I was seeing folks coming in on Thursday that had arms full of Legion stuff, and not only did I not recognize them from like X-Wing, it's like, I've never even seen you in this store before. I mean, I have pretty good idea who's who around here, the regulars,
Sure.
For lack of a better term. And I'm like, who are you?
It's pulling people out of the woodwork.
Great.
So
I love
it's
it.
fantastic.
Yeah. Well, the great thing about this, this demographic that we're pulling in is you're getting kind of a Venn diagram of the casual Star Wars fans, some of the war gamers, and people crossing over from X-Wing, other board games. So yeah, it's kind of a group of people who may not have played the same games together and all coming together, and so it leads some pretty exciting stuff for the future. I think.
Fun times.
A couple of surprises too from over the weekend as well.
Oh, definitely. So we'll save the specifics about the tournament for a little bit later. We'll get into some of the stuff that we saw from the meta. But what do we have for Star Wars news this weekend?
Well, not a whole lot going on right now. As you're probably listening to this, the Blu-ray for Last Jedi is coming out, so that's about it.
But what do we have for Star Wars Legion news?
Oh, Star Wars Legion news. Nothing.
Not at all. Nothing.
Or one of the coolest figures from Star Wars lore is getting represented on the tabletop. in that Pruneface is coming to a table near you.
When the face goes prune, the action goes boom.
No, of course. So we've got another commander choice coming for the Rebels with General Han Solo and then his Rebel strike team with the Commandos. So that's pretty freaking cool.
I was super stoked on that when I saw that. It released, on Friday? They dropped the news on that?
Yeah, they dropped that he's going to be coming Q3, I believe.
Yep, so that's exciting. He's one of my favorite characters. And kind of a surprise to see the Rebel wave come out first, because we've seen, the way that they've got things spaced out, we're guessing a month in between releases. So
yeah. April's
supposed to be the General Veers Snowtroopers release.
Everything I've heard is that Veers is going to be, April with the Snowtroopers.
Okay, which would lead us to believe, based on conjecture, that May would be Leia and the Fleet Troopers.
The Fleet Guard, yep.
And then another Rebel release?
No. This is my theory crafting and putting the rumors together. It's going to be the barricades and obstacles and objectives.
Okay.
So it's going to be on that third month. And then after that, we're going to have Han and the Commandos.
And we still have 4 missing product IDs that haven't been announced yet.
So now this is where the CSI
stuff
I know.
This is where zoom enhance. Yeah.
That's not how that works.
Because the Han Solo troopers, I believe, are 20 and 21. So we don't have 18 and 19 as far as SWL and then whatever Fantasy Flight, their internal whatevers. And then I think we're also missing. I want to say it's 14 and 15 also.
Okay.
So there's things missing that they haven't either their products that they were going to make and they didn't do, so they just kind of, those numbers don't exist anymore. But we don't. There's numbers that things that haven't been released yet. So surprises maybe.
But we know. I mean, that's we can speculate on that all we want about who the Rebel or the Imperial counterparts to that will be. But we know for a fact though that we've got Han Solo and the Rebel Commandos. What do you think about those so far? Well, obviously, Josh, I know what you think about them.
I know. I was like, Han Solo is going to cause people a lot of trouble with the 0 pip command card that gets you
Han shooting first. Yes.
The Han shooting first.
Yeah.
0 pip command card that gets you a dodge and an aim token at the same time. Ugh.
I love how they actually managed to stay within the character of Han Solo.
Oh yeah, no, you got to get that flavor communicated in the game, or else what's the point?
And he adds a totally different dynamic as a commander than anything we've seen so far, because it seems like Leia and Veers are both very much synergistic. They add to the forces you already have. They're not really made to operate alone. Whereas Han Solo seems that's what his job is.
Veers and Leia are kind of buff bots. For lack of a better term, Han's a guy that you want to stick in there. You want to get him up the field. You want to get him shooting at people, especially because I think he's got one of his card abilities is he can shoot twice in one round.
So Gunslinger allows him to shoot at 2 different units.
Right, but still, I mean.
Just be careful. I think there could be some traps there trying to line up those 2 shots, and then all of a sudden he's exposed to 2 groups on that turn as well.
Sure, and he's got a relatively, for a commander unit, he's got a relatively low courage value. So
yeah,
true.
A courage value to 2. Yeah, I mean, if he takes any kind of sustained fire, you risk having him break and run. So,
but to counteract that, he does have the uncanny luck ability, which allows him to re-roll up to 3 defense dice when being shot at.
Sure.
Oh, and I love that. It's a great backup ability if everything else has failed you.
Yeah, when you roll like Matt, you need those rerolls.
Yeah.
Now, is he rolling whites or whites or reds?
He's rolling whites for defense. Okay. He does have surges for both.
Sure.
So his attack surge is critical, and his defense surge is a block. So he does have that going for him. It is a white defense dice. For his blaster, he's got a range 1 to 2. With 2 red dice and
so DL44 like on Luke. So
Yep. So 2 red dice, pierce 2. So, I mean, that's nothing to shrug your shoulders at. It's pretty good, especially when you're shooting twice in one round.
And he's got accuracy, or it allows him to ignore levels of cover.
Right. Yep. Yeah, sharpshooter 1.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I think you're going to see that really opens up the aperture to be able to run a lot of dual commander lists. So I think you're going to see a lot of Han and Leia.
Oh, yeah.
Where you've got Han with one element that's kind of your maneuver element that's meant to be getting up the board.
Yep.
And then if you got Leia, if you have to be in a defensive position, you've got Leia there that can hand out dodge tokens and just kind of camp an objective. So it's going to be really. I'm really interested to see what kind of tactics folks are going to be able to start coming up with dual commander lists, where you've got one that's really, really aggressive and one that's more defensively minded.
I think it opens up a lot too. Like you said, you can have. Luke is cheap enough where you can run Luke and Leia, or you can run Luke and Han. I've been messing around on Battlescribe, like, is Luke and Leia a viable list? Because right now with the Imperials look like sitting 2 ATSTs on the board when Veers comes out might be a serious thing. The Rebels aren't going to have any answer to that, so maybe their answer would be multiple commanders.
Sure.
I'm not sure that is going to be the most points efficient thing. Time will tell on that, but. It does open up a lot of different options.
Yeah, and I mean, ATSTs are so good. Oh, they're so worth the points.
With sticking with Han for now, the model that came out. Now this has caused a little bit of controversy. What are your thoughts on it, Matt?
I think this is the first model people have really been divided on. Oh, wait, no, it's just another one of the models. Admittedly, I think we've all taken a look, and definitely old Hobby John just, I think, sees a blank canvas when he looks at a model. He doesn't get hung up on the paint job, but probably not the best foot forward for that. But I know I'm already kind of looking at maybe alternative head swaps with the Imperial Assault guys or something like that, because I'm not blown away.
So is the issue more with the sculpt itself or the paint job that we saw in the showcase model?
So definitely the paint job is not helping it at all, but the sculpt just looks a little derpy, I'm afraid.
I just see a target, so.
I think that you're right. Well, look, what you said about, I see a blank canvas. I don't necessarily look at the paint job as being, okay, this is what your final product is going to look like. Because while we're usually spoiled from GW and Fantasy Flight having some of the best professional painters showcasing their work on releases, not everyone's turns out that way. Some turn out better, some turn out worse.
Sure.
As much as I don't like to criticize other people's paint jobs, I don't think this was the strongest effort necessarily.
No.
I think it looked okay, but it's a tabletop quality or just over tabletop quality, not showcase, but they're using it literally in a showcase.
I think you need to, go loot the Fantasy Flight couches, get your pennies and nickels and dimes together, and see if you can get like Angel Heraldez. That's going to be a lot of nickels and dimes, I'm sure, but still getting a top profile painter to give their best effort for it.
Yeah, and at the same time, in defense of Fantasy Flight, we don't know when they got their hands on this model.
Exactly.
They might have gotten their hands on this model. It's obviously pre-production. Mm-hmm. They might have, because I didn't look on their site to see if it's listed as at the printer or coming soon or however they listed on the FFG webpage. So we don't know when they got this model. They may have gotten their hands on it, 2 days before.
Take an extra week.
But you want to put it. I mean, Adepticon. It's the release. I know. I mean, better to have a bad model than no model at all. Maybe I don't know.
I'll tell you what. After my Friday night, I will have no pity or sympathy for anyone for not having enough time to paint their stuff.
Hey, John, when's my stuff going to get finished painted?
We'll get back into that when we get to the hobby news because we got a lot to talk about with the hobby stuff. But of course, with the Han release, we saw the release of, I guess, his little entourage and the Rebel Commandos and
Pruneface.
Pruneface. Hey.
Is Captain Rex in there?
I don't.
The guy with the beard?
No, it doesn't.
No,
Captain Rex is in
the.
I forgot.
Captain Rex is in the core set. That's the guy with the beard and the core set.
Right.
Yeah,
that's true. Although with a little bit of green stuff, any of your guys can have beards.
You can make them all Captain Rex if you want.
I mean, he was a clone.
Exactly. There you go.
Except for, I don't think you want to put a beard on the Mon Calamari. That would just look weird.
This is a distinguishing fringe.
So have you guys had a chance to look at the Rebel Commandos at all?
I'm scared. Seriously,
Okay,
man.
first off, Courage 2.
Yeah, Courage 2
on a trooper
which
unit.
is big.
Yeah.
Which right there, the big thing with ATSTs right now, and especially dual ATSTs, is that mortar
Throwing
and
those suppression tokens out there.
suppression and suppressive, which you can first round of shooting, you got a legitimate risk to panic a unit.
Yeah.
Not now, not anymore. So if you want to
Well, not
try
that
that,
unit.
if you want to try that little trick, you're basically dumping both ATST's fire onto one unit, and that's just not very point effective.
Do we know a cost on the basic unit for these guys?
60.
60 points,
Okay.
yep.
60 points.
Before
so not
upgrades
bad.
and everything.
Not
No.
bad.
But keep
and
in
two
mind-
variants of this
Yep.
unit too,
Yeah.
because you got the heavy weapons team, or the strike team is what they're calling it, where you're you have to add a heavy weapons trooper, and then that trooper is your unit leader, which is
That's pretty cool.
which
I
is
dig
real
that.
tasty.
Yeah.
As we sit here and lament, oh, my DLT-19 trooper, I wish I could kill my commander.
Right.
Well, now you don't have, you don't have to
good
worry
point.
about that anymore. But yeah, just so many options with this. And the thing the mechanic that they didn't really spoil, they kind of hinted at. If you look, there's bomb tokens now. So these guys are going to be able to plant bombs and park bombs, I'm assuming, park bombs on an objective and then GTFO.
Yeah.
And then now you've got to decide, well, do I want to go try and take that objective and eat the bomb, or how and we don't know the mechanics of how that's going to work yet. But man,
There's a lot of fun potential there.
Yeah, this does not look like fun.
Well, I think along with Han, I think they're a unit that's made to operate outside of the command range of other commanders. I mean,
Right.
that's why they've got the higher leadership. One thing that they have that we didn't mention that Han also has was the low profile stat, which when you're defending, if you have light cover, you increase it to heavy cover. Mm-hmm. So you see some of the area terrain where it's only one cover. Well, you park these guys in there, and they're going to be a lot harder to dig out.
How fluffy for them to be
Yep.
moving around the trees and stuff like that.
Exactly.
And plus, they have the ability to move up to a range 2 move on deployment.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like you park them, you deploy them as usual, and then immediately execute a 2-speed maneuver. So
Which can bring you into base to base with objectives.
it could
potentially
yeah.
turn one. So
Or we've seen the rapid reinforcements rule where this is your activation. You could potentially deploy and on rapid reinforcements, you keep them back, and then do a 2-speed move and possibly
really?
get into base and base contact with another unit and engage them in melee.
Well,
You
let's
won't be
see.
able to attack, but
Yeah.
you will be able to tie that unit up.
See,
So-
I don't know if they're a model you necessarily want to get into base-to-base contact.
Maybe
they're only
not.
throwing one black die
right.
in hand-to-hand.
I think you got to be
Well, that's what
range-
everybody does, except for Luke and Vader.
You've got to
True,
be
but-
range 2 away from an enemy.
Oh, range
model
2.
too.
Okay, so a 2-speed move's
They'll
not gonna
probably
get
be
you there.
not going to
Yeah,
get there,
okay.
but still, good thought.
Yeah.
But I mean, their statistics are really nothing to shrug your shoulders at. They've
No,
got
So they've got the A280s, so
Yep.
those black dice
so
are
they're
still
throwing
good.
1 to 3 range black die. They've got they got surges for both offense and defense.
Oh, love
So
those.
their offensive surge just goes to regular hit, but I mean it's better than nothing. Better than any
Vader's
of the
so
rebels.
jealous.
Right. Yeah.
And they also have Scout 2 and Sharpshooter 1, and room for pretty much every kind of upgrade you can get. So, of course, with the photos they've shown us so far, we don't know exactly what all upgrades they have. available.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is going to be the first trooper unit with access to comms.
I don't think they're a trooper unit, though. I think they're
special forces.
They're special forces.
So they're not
they
core.
have-
I'm
Oh,
saying
I'm sorry.
trooper.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They are troopers.
Okay,
Yes.
I apologize. They're
Yeah.
not core. So they're special forces.
Yeah, but they also have access to comms, which the other core units do not have.
I think you're right.
So
Absolutely. So, theory or speculation here. What do we think the Imperial analogs are going to be?
Death Troopers.
Man, see,
You think it's going to be Death Troopers?
Well, if it's going to be a direct analog or opposing metric, then I would say probably Scout Troopers.
Scout Troopers.
That's
yeah.
my guess, yeah.
But who's the commander then? Because what it looks like here is it looks like they're basically mining the original trilogy as much as they can right now, obviously. So, Scout Troopers, absolutely. But then who do you put as the commander? Because we don't see a lot of named
the guy in the shield generator in the black uniform. That, that guy.
Scum. Yeah. I actually wouldn't mind that guy, just so I can, every time I activate him, just go, "You rebel scum."
Your dream of having a nameless HQ choice that you can
that might
project
work out.
your destiny
I would
upon.
be totally cool
A
with
lot
that.
of people online are saying Tarkin, and I just no.
But you're not going to have Tarkin with all
Right.
of the releases. The commander tends to correlate with the models being released.
Sure.
So Hoth, you got snow troopers with Veers.
Okay, so we're speculating on a speculation about a
Yeah.
I mean,
okay.
I like personally, I don't want to see Tarkin anywhere near this game because he's not a ground pounder. I'd love to see like Agent Callus from Rebels.
Oh, no,
that
he'd
would
be great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But then you're starting to get into
It's going to be Death Trooper Krennic.
Yeah, probably
when it comes out.
Yeah.
So.
Again, you're starting to go into the expanded universe other than the original trilogy.
Right.
So I think if they're sticking with the original trilogy, you're going to have to stick with... I mean, the only obvious commander choices you have from the Empire would be Grand Moff Tarkin, if they throw him out there, the Emperor. I feel like that's going to be a later on release.
Yeah,
though.
probably. But
With him with his Praetorian Guard. Oh, that would be awesome.
So tasty.
It's for Grand Army.
Yeah.
Something like that.
But I mean, I there isn't really a ground pounding analog for.
So there is
the Empire.
precedent in Rebels for our Chiss buddy.
Yeah, Thrawn.
Sure. And also Krennic. I
Yeah.
mean, he is the obvious one, I think.
Yeah.
Because he runs around saying deploy to the garrison. And that's obviously going to be one of his cards.
Yeah.
Either way, it'll be interesting to continue to speculate until we actually see some hard evidence. But for now, I'm, as a Rebel player, stoked. Really stoked to have the Rebel Commandos.
And I'm very happy for you.
Oh, how big of you. Thanks, Josh.
Yes.
The only problem I have at all, and this is very, very minute, but they are almost the exact same paint scheme that I went with for my Rebel troopers, because I haven't put the photos out there yet, but I went through a full Endor paint scheme with everything. So the paint scheme looks very similar to what we saw with the Rebel Commandos. I'll change it up a little bit myself, just so I don't have them look exactly the same.
Oh, what you do is do like one of our local players do and give them all like Jordans. And give them all some like nice sneakers.
Well, yeah, since we're talking about the hobby news and everything like that, we saw some pretty cool stuff from the tournament with some of the paint jobs.
I am shocked at how much got painted up and so quickly. I mean, John, you're an aberration, but there was still a lot of people. Like, it was pretty quiet in here on Friday. But I think that's because most people were at home, getting things painted up in anticipation for the tournament on Saturday.
Well, I mean, we even saw Thursday when we were getting ready to do the live stream. People were coming in, picking up their stuff, and sitting down and starting to glue stuff together. Just so they can just play right away. So I mean, it's a lot of sleepless nights for a lot of people, I'm sure. Well,
that's part of the cool thing about the atmosphere that we have here at Power 9 is, people they hang out here and paint and assemble models and stuff together. Exactly.
Right.
So we don't just have people playing here. The whole aspect of the hobby is all here. But my timetable on Friday was ridiculous because Thursday.
What was your day like, John?
Picked
Break
up
it
the
down
game.
for
We'll
us.
give a little recap.
Yeah.
Thursday picked up the game. And Thursday after work, because I didn't take any days off for this like some people did. I'm a lack of dedication. I know. But Thursday night after work, came down here, played the game on Twitch.
Yep.
Against Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
Great dude.
Daniel's
plays
awesome.
really well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool
he beat me, so he gave
Friend
me my
of the
first
show,
loss.
Daniel Roberts.
Yeah. So got a game in with him. That went till probably about 9:30. Went home, assembled my stuff, and Friday after work, basically sat down and from 5 o'clock in the afternoon to about 2 o'clock in the morning, painted as much as I possibly could. Woke up the next day and was here by noon. And I had everything painted to at least tabletop quality except for my ATRTs. So with 4
Shame.
squads. I know.
Yeah.
It was a little bit of a personal embarrassment. Like, sorry, these 2 ATRTs aren't done.
And I need you to put up some pictures of your speeder because that thing turned out freaking awesome.
I'm pretty happy with it. I'll put some pictures up, and next time for
so shocking. I'm sure nobody that was here. John ended up winning the best overall painted. And
even with the two ATRTs not
no,
done?
he didn't enter those for some reason.
Oh,
it was kind of weird.
Come on, man.
Yeah, they had all the different categories for commanders and unit and support and all that kind of stuff. And instead of just giving him best paint in each of the categories, they had the best painted, so I just gave him to that and then was able to get the certificates to everybody else that did a really good job on.
But yeah, everyone definitely deserves some recognition for that because they all did a great job. And I've had years of experience of doing like speed painting stuff, but we saw some creativity. Like, who was the guy who had the stormtroopers with the Jordans?
Oh yeah, that was Joe.
Yeah. Joe had these stormtroopers that had the classic stormtrooper paint scheme, but each one of them had their own individual pair of Jordans, and different colors on each one. He painted the different soles and stuff. And
I love hobby games so much.
Yeah, exactly, because it leaves so much room for creativity and stuff. And hats off to him because he did a great job with that. Now, speaking of alternative paint schemes, Josh, how's your new paint scheme going?
The Hello Kitty Army, how's that coming along?
Slow, because I am not a speed painter, and at about I don't know, 10 o'clock this morning, I realized why I'd never played miniature games before. Like, oh yeah, now I remember why I never wanted to play 40K. This sucks.
Oh god, for a fraction of the model count.
I know. Yeah, I can't imagine the guys that are rolling like Imperial Guard, and like one basic unit of Imperial Guard is like everything that you put on the table for an 800-point army in this game. But
so what is your technique been?
So my technique has been I'm shooting everything with a base coat of black, using the Citadel Chaos Black spray, which I really, really like. And then what I'm taking is some gray, because I'm doing a black paint scheme for everything. So black is the base color. And then I'm taking a little bit of Dawnstone gray, also from Citadel, and kind of using that as the colors for the body glove. So you can almost imagine the stormtroopers are almost like a negative of a picture negative of what they should be. Everything that's supposed to be white is black, and then everything that's supposed to be black is light. So going through and doing all the butts, and I've seen more stormtrooper butts in the past 2 days than I care to think about.
Not the shin guards, the butts.
Yeah, the butts. Yeah. So doing all the elbows and knees and all the everywhere where you would see the body glove, shoulder joints and all of that.
The holsters and the weapons.
Because I'm doing black on the people, I don't want to do black guns. So normally the E11 is a black weapon. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the Army Painter gunmetal gray, which is or gunmetal silver, which is a metallic and it's pretty dark as it is. Doing all of the weapons in that gunmetal silver. And then just doing some highlights of silver elsewhere. I'm not getting too detailed. I like to work with a relatively simple palette because I'm slow. And if I get too detailed, I'm like, oh, I'm going to paint this one little dot red on all of my troopers. It'll add like 5 hours to what I'm doing.
You all can't see this at home, but for the real PTSD of Josh here, he's gesturing with a pen it's his paintbrush. He's waving it around, making dots. It's pretty entertaining.
We really need to start
hand
Twitch
cramped
streaming
into a kind of claw.
Yeah, well, this is kind of like the hand equivalent of lockjaw right now.
If you were to take the pen away,
my
your hand stay in that position.
Yeah. Because literally this is, and you can't see what I'm doing, but the way I'm holding the pen is literally where my hand has been for like the last 24 hours of my life.
Hey man, you should just relax. Just put it down.
Wait, did you just tell me to relax?
Yeah, calm down.
Come on, man.
Woosah.
One does not simply stop painting.
Well, maybe not you.
Yeah. Right. So, and then do some silver highlights on that, and then I'm doing the eyes green. And giving it kind of that Death Trooper
Splinter Cell
glow kind of thing.
I like the ones that you sent me a photo of. I really like how they're standing out so far.
So then what I'm doing on the silver, because it's too bright, taking some Nuln Oil and just doing a light coat of Nuln Oil over all of them to knock it down, especially on the guns, to bring out all of the detail, in all those recessed areas. And then I'm doing some kind of like slash camo of purple and gray to kind of break up the monotony of the black. And then the last thing I'm doing is I'm doing a really, really, really light dry brush coat of the gunmetal silver, and it's just barely pulling out some of those raised details, like in the helmet, and kind of the edges of the armor and everything, because the black spray, the Chaos black spray, is great, but it swallows detail.
You haven't even gotten to the best part, though, and that's Darth Huggy Bear Vader with his purple and ermine cloak.
So what I did with my Vader, because I like to, squad colors, right? You gotta have elements of the squad color and everything there.
I disagree, but still,
Matt
live your dream.
And that's okay. We will agree to disagree on this one. So what I did, and I think it looks really neat. I like it. I wanted to get the purple and gray into Vader somehow, and I sat there looking at this model, agonizing over how in the hell I'm going to work purple into this thing. And what I ended up doing is I looked at, especially the way you've got to assemble the model. You've got the headpiece with the cape, with the back cape, because he's got two capes, which is really weird. What I did is I kind of fit the model together, and I realized I couldn't really see a whole lot of the back cape because, his body, on the inside of the back cape, I should say, because, his body conceals it, right?
Yeah.
So what I did is I coated the entire inside of the cape purple. And then the outside of the cape,
the trim around the edges.
Well, I mean, the way they did the sculpt on the model, it's flat all the way around, and it's like, hey, outline here, right?
Yeah.
So that flat area on the bottom and then up the sides of that cape, I did the same gray color. You put it together, the rest of the Vader is standard Vader. Red eyes, red saber, I was tempted to give him green eyes and a purple saber, and those are all of the things that were in my head to do that the Star Wars fan in me went, no.
And that day, Darth Hater was born.
Right? Yeah.
You got to draw the line somewhere eventually.
Better have my credits. Anyways, so that's what I did with my Vader.
Okay.
So you only see the purple if you look at it from the one angle. If you're off angle if you look at it from a 45-degree angle, you can see a little bit of the gray on the lining of the front of the cape, but you can't see the purple. It looks like a normal Vader. So that was my way of being able to kind of work squad colors in there, but still at the same time being able to keep it real, keep it OG.
It's a creative way of doing it, and it serves multiple purposes in case Vader has to blow up Alderaan at noon, and then at night has a off-Broadway production of Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat.
The one other thing I considered doing with my Vader, everybody talks about if it even says it in the rules reference guide, if your sabers are bent or whatever, get bent in shipping, stick it in some hot water, and then it'll soften the plastic up, and you can straighten it out.
Yeah.
Looking at Vader, his left hand, he's doing the force choke thing, right?
Strong hand.
Yep. Yeah. He's bringing the strong hand.
hand.
Yeah. What I considered doing is sticking that hand in water, and instead of having the
and see if he pees his suit.
Yeah. What's that?
No.
Wait,
sorry.
I totally missed what you said. Wait, what did you say?
He stuck his hand in his water and see if he
pees his suit. No, I wasn't going to see if he peed
hot
his suit.
water. Okay.
Yeah. No, what I was going to basically do is I was going to try and monkey around with his hand, and instead of the force choke hand, I was going to see if I could make him be given a thumbs up. So lightsaber in one hand, and it's the Buddy Vader in the other one. But I decided not to do that. I was already tempting fate enough.
Oh, man.
So.
Yeah, one of the nice things about buying two kits was, I have two Vaders, two Lukes, and everything else. I'm obviously putting to use, but having two Vaders and two Lukes doesn't really do anything for me. So I get to play around with my second Vader.
I still need the commissar hat, by the way.
Oh yeah, I got you.
Please.
I got you. Well, one of the nice things
you need
about
the wide brim fuzzy hat.
one of the nice things about having a pretty expansive bits box from playing 40K and bolt action and a few other things was I've got. A few random Space Marine heads, and one of GW's things, in addition to putting skulls on everything, is the bare-headed Space Marine captain or Space Marine sergeant with battle damaged face, and I'm like, wow, this guy looks like a horrible burn victim. Boom.
Lobot.
There we go. Lobot. There we go. That's perfect. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, when that comes
got
out,
cybernetics implanted in his skull.
But we could. I'm gonna take Vader's head off and put on one of these, battle damaged Space Marine sergeant heads, and what do you know?
I want to say the
it
Blood
fits
Angel
perfectly.
line's got a little rebreather guy too.
Yeah, you could do that.
Perfect.
Some of the land speeder, air land speeder comes with, not the Star Wars one, the 40K one. Comes with the rebreather sergeant, but one of the ones that they came with, I think the basic tactical squad, has a guy with burn damage about half his face. I'm like, you know what? That kind of looks like Darth Vader. So
nice.
So I cut the head off one Vader, and I'm little green stuff around the neck so it doesn't look like Frankenstein, and we'll see how it turns out. I haven't painted that one up yet, but that'll be my alternative one in case the tournament rules come out and you can't have any alternative sculpts.
Darth Vader unplugged.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Your casual game, Vader.
So a lot of room for hobby stuff, but we get into the actual meat of the conversation here. We'll talk about our recap from the release weekend. So Matt, from a proprietor standpoint here, what did you think about the release? How did you take the reaction from the community?
I was blown away, honestly. It was pretty exciting to see everybody else be as excited as I am for Legion launch. I was a little bit worried. We ordered real heavy for Legion to come out, and we posted out some pictures of our receiving shipment, which I thought was pretty substantial. Before we had finished pulling orders and just having people walk in the door, I was already on the phone getting a reorder for the following week on things like stormtroopers were going to be gone, bike scouts were getting just taken off the shelf quicker than we could get them back in. So, no, a lot of people are coming in. We kind of talked about it earlier, just new people into the hobby. Maybe we're not thinking about it till they saw the reception it was getting, and then all of a sudden we've got a lot of people coming in, getting involved in Legion. So that was really great.
See, I've never been on the ground floor of a launch. I playing 40K, I got into that.
What are you, 5 years old? Yeah.
Yeah. And, X-Wing, it was well after the game had come out. So I never actually experienced what it was like to start with the game from the beginning. But from what I've seen so far, I think it's bodes pretty well for the future of this game.
Yeah, outside of a few rules quibbles here and there, I think everybody's very happy with the way it plays and it flows, the quality of the models, and then the experience of actually playing a full tabletop game in it. I can't think of anybody that's really had too many problems.
Yeah, that kind of goes into my one issue that I have so far is, everything that came with the release kit is great. I would have liked to have had a more comprehensive rule set and not have to reference it online.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting, and I think more people, as they're playing games, are finding this out. We've found inconsistencies between the start playing guide that comes in the box and then the rules reference online. Like the big one that was doing my head in was the suppression mechanic. Yeah. Again. Someday I'll figure it out. But very clearly in the base rule book that comes in the box, it says, at 2 different times, range attacks.
Yeah.
Both times. But when you go into the rules reference guide online, it says an attack gets a suppression. So
a melee
now all of a
attack
sudden people
would,
melee attacks, which doesn't quite make sense to me. I'm hoping that's just an oversight that's going to be corrected, because I think the whole idea of suppression in my mind is, we got laser blasts flying past us, so we're kind of ducking behind cover, moving tactically, that kind of thing. Maybe doesn't lend itself so much to a melee duel, whereas if you're doing that, you're probably taking dodge tokens or something like that.
Sure.
I don't know about you, but somebody tries to punch me, and I just assume the turtle position and curl up and just, please don't hurt me.
Stop, I'm being suppressed.
Randy laying oh, Jesus.
But yeah, there's a few contradictions and a few things that were, left fairly vague.
I think the other one we ran into was actually during your game is doing a Jedi mind trick. Well, do you need line of sight?
Yeah,
I couldn't find anything that says you needed to.
It doesn't sound like it. I mean, for the Master of Evil one also that hands out the suppression tokens.
Well, yeah, that's
a
command
range
card.
1 to 2.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so
we treated it like he could do it behind a building. So
yeah.
Hopefully the facts will be dropping soon on these kind of situations.
But, you know, card says do this. Do this. It's not, well, you know, but he can't see him. You know, card says this, do this. Don't sit here and, you know, headcanon it into something that you can't do.
And again, sometimes we bring some of these previous notions from other games.
Yeah,
into
we've talked about that
we've
before.
Talked about that. So, you know, we have to try to, you know, unlearn what we have learned from other games and, you know, go into this.
Still learning from Yoda all these years later.
Exactly. He's so much wisdom for such a little guy.
Such a little puppet.
But we saw one of the coolest things, I think, was just the developing meta. And granted, I'm sure it's different everywhere you go. But, you know, I threw a little poll out on the Facebook account today. And, you know, just within the 12 hours that we had it up, we saw about 50 responses from people and basically just asking, what is your main army right now? And I think I had speculated it was going to be more Imperial heavy. And
I think that's what everybody was expecting.
Yeah, I mean, just because of the options that you have out there. You know, the DLT-19 is probably the best all-around heavy weapon. ATSTs are really good. You know, Vader's not bad, although you know he certainly has his limitations. But
well, that was another interesting discussion. But from what we saw from the poll results, about 54% were Rebel players, and from what we saw of the 8 players that entered the tournament, we had 5 Rebel lists.
5 Rebels, 3 Imperials. Yeah, that shocked me. I was prepared to play that day if we had an odd number, but otherwise I just ended up judging. But I had a Rebel list ready to go because I thought for sure I'd just be seeing waves and oceans of AT and STs and Stormtrooper helmets, but not the case. So a lot of land speeders out there.
And that was one of the cool things too, was they had all the lists were pretty distinct. You know, we didn't see any dual ATST lists, but we saw 2 of the Imperialists had ATSTs. One of them was running exclusively troopers and jet bikes.
Yep, yeah, that was Daniel's list.
Daniel ran, it played very well. He beat me the first game we played, and you know, I made some stupid deployment mistakes, but as you can see in the Twitch video, but he ran a load of troops, and it worked out for him. You know, he played, you know, very intelligently with it. Joe ran an ATST with several squads of troops, and you know, he got into the first game he and I played, he probably had the worst possible deployment objective set up, and I tabled him, but not because he wasn't a good player, just, you know, things didn't work out
Joe
in his
is
favor.
absolutely an excellent X-Wing player. I think this is his first like tabletop battle game though.
Yeah, and there's definite differences.
We were definitely we spent some time afterwards and we were chatting, and there's some interesting theory crafting going on that came out of that event as well.
Yeah. And then on the Rebel side, you know, John,
ATRTs with Gatling cannons.
seemed to be the big thing.
Yeah.
You know, troopers, of course, you know, saw quite a few of those, but John Rust, who I think won it, ran 2 land speeder or 2 air speeders. So that was, you know, I played against that list, and those are tough to bring down. You know, trying to shoot one of them, it's not that hard, but you got 2 of them flying around there, and you know, throwing out 3 black and 3 red attack dice. Those things are nothing to.
A lot of H6s I noticed too. Not so much with the ion shots. So that was interesting. I was really surprised to see that.
Gatling,
yeah.
Volume of
For
fire.
the troopers.
Volume of fire is going to be your winner in this game. I mean,
I don't know. I've got some thoughts on that.
Well, it's the game seems very balanced. You know, there's no weapons that are just, you know, overtly more powerful than their counterparts. I think the Ion Troopers definitely have a place. I ran one on my list, and in both games it saved my butt several times.
I think only 2 of it was you and another gentleman that had the Ion Troops. Everybody else was just spamming the Z6s.
Yeah.
So, and I think he was saying that it did a lot of work for him as well.
Yeah, that was part of the reason I was able to, in the game I played against Joe, I brought down that ATST, and I think turn 3. And he had General Weiss and all the fixins on his ATST.
Whistles, yeah.
The reason why I was able to bring it down fairly easily was we had the hot dog or the hamburger style deployments set up.
Okay.
So it was, you know, the closest to closest.
Sure.
So he was never within range 4 to be able to do that mortar thing. And also I threw on the the scenario where you can't shoot beyond range 2 at turn 1.
That really limits.
Well, it was, you know, when you do the card setup, you know, the third card, if that third card is something you really want, you can use both of your, you know, get rid of that card to make that the scenario that happens. And that's what I did. It was the third one in there. I'm like, oh, that's
that pregame game.
Yeah. So that, you know, I knew immediately, like, I need that to happen. And by the time he was able to get in range to shoot, I had an ion token on him. I got Luke into combat with it. I dropped it.
Oh, jeez. It seems like for the ATST, depending on your deployment conditions, it's almost something you absolutely have to deploy last.
For sure.
Just so you can get the most tactical flexibility out of it. To, you know, mortar launcher, depending on how you've got it kitted out as well. It seems like it's something you have to absolutely deploy last.
Yeah,
exactly. And you know, I learned my lesson with my game against Daniel about getting a little bit overzealous with my airspeeder, because I was thinking I'm just going to zip this thing up across the board, and then I realized, like, I don't. Well, I did. Yeah. No, we played the opposite way for our deployment, where it was the long edge, and I tried to zip that thing up there thinking I had range. I'm like, nope, I don't have range on that. That range 3 is not as long as I thought it was, and then of course that kind of left him dangling out there, where he just, you know, shot it to pieces. Because one thing we learned, that they're not that durable when you're only running 1.
Right.
Yeah, and then you got the weapon destroyed result too.
Which basically made
and that was the only weapon you had on there.
Yeah, which basically makes the land speeder just a giant displacement tool.
Yeah,
which I messed around with a little bit to some effect, but yeah, it seriously reduced its effectiveness. So, but we saw, like I said, a number of different lists and people playing in different ways. So, you know, I guess it's an exciting part of the meta where even though there's not as big of a selection of different options to take, we're still seeing people playing diverse styles.
Yeah, definitely especially with the ATRTs, being able to pick and choose the upgrades that you run on them. I know Gatling cannons were kind of the order for the day. I know there was triple ATRT lists out there. 2 of them were Gatling cannon, and then 1 laser cannon, with the thought being that you're just fishing for crits.
Yeah.
And trying to use that to bring down, you know, either people in barricades or ATSTs or other vehicles, that sort of thing. We did realize after the fact, though, that maybe the laser cannons still have more legs on them for dealing with ATSTs, just because it gives you that 4 range band.
Yeah.
If you can bait out the ATST during deployment, and then just make sure, because it only moves like 1 or 2. It's pretty slow, right?
Mm-hmm. ATST's 2, yeah.
Okay, so 2. So you could probably pretty easily keep range on it with the laser cannon and peppering it with your superior range, and hopefully, you know, make it think twice about advancing and just mortar potting like willy-nilly.
Now, I will say, from playing against the ATST, like, I was able to kill it in turn 3, but everything went my way to have that happen. You know?
Yeah, that seems pretty optimal.
Yeah, like
they're tough to bring
and
down.
that was with 1.
Yeah.
Like, I'm thinking, like, if I was playing against, I had to concentrate all my fire on that thing, and I had to have the perfect set of scenarios in order to get that thing to drop. If I had to go against 2 of them, I don't know what I would do. And I could set the range that I needed to get into, you know, the optimal range to be able to kill this thing effectively with minimizing the amount of damage I take from it. But if I've got a second one to worry about, that thing could either move in or move out to its own optimal range. That's
where I hope you have maybe like tow cables or ion cans or something that can really just mess with it and keep it busy.
Yeah.
And not as effective until you're able to, you know, bring your guns to bear after they finish off the first one. But we'll definitely have to play that scenario out, I think.
And that's where I think that you're going to start seeing the metas shift, because once that happens, then, yeah, like you said, you're going to have more anti-vehicle weapons on your stuff, which is going to leave you exposed to having to fight against trooper-heavy lists.
Oh, yeah.
No, so you're going to start seeing the rock, paper, scissors effect, which I think when you've got a balanced game, that's what you're going to have.
ATSTs are super scary just number-wise on the board. Just in a vacuum, they are super scary vehicles. The moment people dissect and figure out how to deal with them effectively, I think you're going to see a big decline in their use on the table. But who knows?
Well, they're expensive.
It may be. Yeah, they are expensive. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you can, you know, consistently get a spin on it so it's facing the wrong way and not using that forward arc, or, you know, dropping ion tokens so it's not able to deploy, wow, you've neutralized a quarter of their army.
And I think one thing that you can do to kind of mitigate that from a gameplay standpoint is make sure you have enough line of sight blocking terrain on the table.
Yeah.
because we did a great job here at Power 9 of making sure that we had enough good terrain on the table while making it a good gameplay aspect and also still make it look cool.
Yeah, one or two of the tables was a little light on the line of sight blocking, so that's definitely something we were talking about afterwards. We had kind of a Yavin 4 style forest board. Actually, I kind of want to talk to you about maybe building up some like Aztec style pyramids or something to help add in some line of sight blocking stuff.
Well, I think that's we can add that to the terrain, the queue of terrain list. I got some poster boards or poster tubes recently, so to put some Endor trees together, and once I start and finish those, we'll get some tutorials up on our Facebook page.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, but for that game though, we did see the impact of having good line of sight blocking terrain, and it never hurts to have a little bit more.
Yeah,
I think.
No, absolutely. I think the rule of thumb is you want to have a quarter of the board worth of terrain when you sit down and play, and then half of that is area, cover, that kind of thing.
It's also tough to make good line of sight blocking terrain when you've got a model that literally stands a foot tall.
And line of sight is measured from the top of that model, right?
Yeah. So it gets a little tough. Now, there is some speculation I saw online about whether or not, if you have the model up that high,
He's a tippy toes ballerina.
Well, if it's going to have like things that are hiding under overhangs, if they're going to still be able to be shot at.
Can you see it?
Interesting.
Do you have line of sight to it? Is it obscured?
Well, then are you drawing line of sight from the base or line of sight from the top of the model?
It's supposed to be from the top of the model as per the rules.
Which is why you've got to have your speeder bike troops on the speeder bikes.
Yeah.
Because obviously, if you say, oh, it's just a bike, and with nobody on it, then that changes your line of sight.
True. Unless you start getting the people who start modeling the Velociraptor squatting.
Yeah, the ATST with the head, with the chin resting on the ground, and it's a valid sculpt. I mean, all the joints are where they're supposed to be.
He's nesting. Yeah.
Now, another interesting conversation that was brought up on Facebook or Reddit or something like that was, the validity, or is Vader OP?
No.
And I chimed in like, not only do I not think he's OP, I don't think he's that effective.
It takes a lot of nuance to play Vader properly. He's slow.
Yeah.
And when you've got another choppy lightsaber wielder on the table that can get you, 2 attacks in 1 turn, and a charge and all of that, it's really hard to outmaneuver that.
Yeah.
While also bringing what he can do to bear on the enemy. Because you're not going to move Luke away from the troops. So, Vader's got to go attack the troops, but at the same time,
Once we see the alternative commanders dropping, I think we'll see a resurge in, that's all we see right now is Vader.
Right.
But I think we'll see the effectiveness of him go up as well. Because literally playing your cards right with Luke, I've seen him kill Vader like 4 out of 5 times now.
I've killed him every time.
Yeah.
Of the 5 games I've played against the Empire, I've killed Vader every time.
Yeah, and I think what people are shying away from is they get the idea into their head that, Grand Jedi duel, here we go, Vader versus Luke. If you can get at Luke before he has a chance to token up,
or if you can somehow bait out his ability to get a second attack.
But if you've got a couple of squads and you can lay some fire in on him before he gets a chance to token up and deflect things back at you, he's got red defense dice, but I've seen him die to mass fire.
Yeah.
Again, volume of fire is what, if you're untokened, volume of fire is what's going to do it for you. So
I think one of the best ways to do it is to make sure you've got 2 1-pip cards for Vader, correct? You've got the ambush that everyone gets, and then the other one, not Master of Evil, but his other 1-pip card.
Right.
You need to make sure you save those, because when you get into hand-to-hand combat with Luke,
he's got to go first.
Will do Son of Skywalker.
Yep.
Every time.
And that's a 2-pip card?
It's a 1-pip card.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Son of Skywalker is a 1-pip card and
You're down to a dice throw at that point.
Yeah. Exactly. But at least it's a dice throw.
Yeah.
Because if you don't get that, Luke will go twice, and statistically, he will kill you. Especially if he's done an attack round before that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So your best bet, if you're going to take Vader against Luke, you need to make sure that you charge him after he's already acted, so you're getting the only action on that round, and then you need to make sure that next round that you're throwing a 1-pip card, so he's not going to be acting twice before you. Yeah, it's a very specific scenario.
Good luck.
But if you're going to go toe to toe with Luke, which it sounds weird because Luke's throwing worse dice, he has less health, but his ability to act more times than you is going to be the end of you.
And nobody's asking if Luke is OP. Right? I mean, why are we not having this discussion?
I think he's good. But
between
I
the
don't think
1-pip card that lets you attack twice, there's another card that lets him get a dodge token, and
I don't feel like he's OP because
Yeah.
I've never used Luke to win the battle. I don't think I've ever used him entirely. Both games that I lost, I think I had Luke survive both games. And
he might be a little bit easier to use than Vader because he does have the mobility. You can kind of move him aboard. You can just lull, I'm a Jedi, charge into combat with Vader.
Right.
And if you didn't plan ahead with your command cards, then yeah, you're probably going to get chopped down. But there's a little bit more, I don't know, margin for error in there.
Now, I know you didn't get to play the tournament this week, Josh, but the games that you did get to watch, do you see the value of saber throw?
Yeah, sure I do. Yep. Yeah.
For bringing down Sky Speeders.
It's really the only thing that allows Vader to stay competitive.
Right.
Because since he is so slow to move, if you don't take saber throw on Vader as a Rebel player, I'm not going to engage you.
Right.
I can just keep
you
backing
can
away
kite
from
him all
you.
day long.
Exactly.
Right.
Or if I'm going to take force push on Luke, I'm going to let you get close and I'm going to throw you, push you away.
I think there's a really good argument for taking saber throw on Luke too.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just for dealing with vehicles.
Now, the issue I take with that is you're replacing... Luke only has 2 force powers.
Mm-hmm.
Which one would you remove? Because I'm very, very set on force reflexes.
The one I don't like. That's the one.
Force push?
Force push, yeah. Yeah, I'm not... I mean, I don't love it as much as you do. I haven't gotten to play with it a whole lot, though.
Okay.
Like, literally all I've been playing is Imperial since launch, so... I haven't sat down with the Son of Skywalker to play around with that yet, but the flexibility saber throw gives you to get those impact and pierce rolls for speeders, etc. Yeah, this is one of the things, kind of our little powwow we did after the tournament, a bunch of us sitting down and just chatting things out, and that was kind of a consensus we came to, is you could get a lot of mileage out of there.
You could, but I feel like because you're replacing something else. You know, it's a statistic you use in sports, wins above replacement. Do you have enough value from replacing another one of those cards?
Especially when
only
Luke
time
already
will
has
tell.
a ranged attack.
He does, exactly. He already has.
Sure.
Granted, it's not as effective. It doesn't
Sure.
have pierce and impact like
Mm-hmm.
the saber throw would. But I don't think you're going to see...
Well, it's got
for
pierce,
saber,
too.
it's a must-have. Like,
yeah.
Saber, you have to have... Or Vader has to have the saber throw.
Yeah.
Because he has no other ranged attack, and because he's so slow, it's very easy to maneuver around him. Luke has a ranged attack, and if he's throwing it, he's only throwing 3 black dice.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a precipitous drop off from what you saw with Vader, and I just don't want to replace either force reflexes or force push.
Well, I'm just waiting for the Imperial Super Commando expansion to come out that gives a jetpack upgrade card that Vader can then take, and suddenly you've got Arc Vader zooming around the board.
Awesome.
Or if
Yeah.
there's some ability for Boba Fett to pick Vader up and carry him into battle. Or if you get some kind of troop transport, that may be a mechanic that we see eventually at some point.
That's something this game needs, I think, is some sort of way to get your troops, cart them around. I think
Oh,
would
we
be
need
really
the,
nice, especially once
Imperial
you start getting
Rhino
into,
Rush.
Yeah, especially once you start getting into the Grand Army when you're on a 6x4. It'd be nice to have something to be able to get your people around in.
I think we'll see it eventually, especially with.
sure.
I mean, Rebels had a bunch of different transports and things on there that they could pull for inspiration and models.
Sure.
Yeah.
And again, we're just speculating on things that they'll have in the future. So, nothing concrete in front of us. But for right now, I don't think Vader's OP, and I personally don't think he's that effective. I think once we see the Veers expansion drop, I think we're going to see more Veers lists than Vader.
Probably, just because of the fact that it's going to open up your
More points to
possibilities.
play with, yeah.
More points to play with. I can lose Vader and put a whole nother squad of stormtroopers on the field, and yeah, okay, they're stormtroopers, but mass fire, and if you play your cards right, might end up being better than having Vader on the field.
Yeah. Was there anything else you guys wanted to go over this week?
No, I'm good.
I think we had a lot to talk about.
I'm ready to go home and
Yeah.
start painting again.
Oh,
yeah,
wow,
let's go home and
okay.
paint.
You
Let's
load
go.
up on potassium.
Let's
You're ready to
paint.
go again?
Let's go paint.
Yeah, go paint.
I have a feeling we have to like send a health and welfare check on
Probably.
on Josh in a couple days, make sure he's not like just seized up in a ball.
Are you able to answer your phone, buddy? Send a text?
Yeah.
You okay?
Not with these hands.
No. It's the claws.
All right, Outriders, thanks for listening to us this week. Check back with us next week, and we'll hopefully have some more information, get some more games under our belts, and have some more great hobby news for you.
You've been listening to the Legion Outriders podcast.
Only now, at the end, do you understand?
For more from the Outriders, make sure you like us on Twitter at Legion Outriders, subscribe to our Facebook page at facebook.com/Legion Outriders, and make sure you like and subscribe to the podcast. Thanks for listening.
You're all clear, kid. Now let's blow this thing and go home.